Most people think history remembers its greatest books, but in alchemy, that rule breaks down fast. Some of the most influential works, the ones that transform the entire discipline, are the books almost no one alive today has even heard of. And Azoth and the Fire is one of those lost giants. It doesn't survive because of beautiful engravings. It doesn't survive because of dramatic woodcuts or elaborate symbols like so many other alchemical texts. It survives because it did something far more radical. It changed the very purpose of alchemy itself. This book, written in the late 1500s and first printed around 1702, made a claim so bold, so unprecedented, that the entire trajectory of European Hermetic thought shifted because of it. And the claim is this, that the true alchemical work is not found in furnaces, crucibles, or metals, but in the transformation of the human soul. According to this text, salvation itself is an alchemical process. The work performed in the laboratory and the work performed within the heart are one and the same, mirrored across different levels of reality. This is the birth of what we now call spiritual alchemy. But to understand how shocking this idea was, we have to step back into the world that created it. For centuries, Western thought was ruled by scholastic Aristotelianism. Physical nature obeyed one set of laws. The spiritual realm obeyed another. The cosmos was split. The world below the moon and the world above it were believed to be governed by completely different physics. The idea that the same forces could transform both metal and soul was simply unthinkable. But the Renaissance cracked that world open. Hermeticism, Neoplatonism, and Kabbalah re-entered Europe. Philosophers like Ficino, Pico, and Agrippa began dissolving the old boundaries between matter and spirit. And then Paracelsus arrived, fiery, brilliant, unconventional. He introduced the theory of the spiritus, a subtle bridge between body and soul, a place where divine and material reality could meet and interact. This was the spark that made spiritual alchemy possible. Meanwhile, Protestant mystics were reimagining salvation. No longer exclusively tied to the sacraments, rebirth became an inward transformation, Christ born within the believer. Combine this with Paracelsian alchemy, and suddenly the transformation of metals and the transformation of the soul were understood as parallel processes driven by the same divine force. Into this world, Azoth and the Fire emerged. And it wastes no time. On its first page, it makes a declaration so shocking that even today, scholars blink twice. The number 666, long associated with the Antichrist, is reinterpreted as a symbol of Christ, of Solomon's gold, and of the philosopher's stone. Why? Because in the Book of Kings, Solomon receives 666 talents of gold each year. And in Revelation, in Luther's translation, 666 is called the number of a man. Put together, Azoth and the Fire reveals the true mystery. 666 is not satanic at all, but the hidden number of transformation. The force of Azoth, the purifying fire, the perfected gold, and the incarnate Christ, all fused into one alchemical truth. This is the cornerstone of the entire text. Azoth is the universal agent of change. Fire is the divine heat that purifies. Gold is the perfected state. Christ is the heavenly stone, the divine alchemist. Alchemy becomes theology. Theology becomes alchemy. They are the same process, seen through different lenses. Christ transforms the spirit. The renewed spirit transforms the person, and the transformed person perfects nature itself through the great work. This is not metaphor, not symbolism, not poetic analogy. The author insists, again and again, that these processes are literally identical at every level of creation. Just as metals die, dissolve, and resurrect in the furnace, The human soul dies to the old self, is purified, and is reborn in Christ. Every operation in the laboratory, dissolution, coagulation, fermentation, tincturing, is mirrored in the soul. Every stage of salvation is reflected in nature. And the entire universe is a single alchemical furnace tending toward perfection. This was a revolution. No alchemical text before this made such a direct and unapologetic claim, and the author knew it. Throughout the work, they criticize both theologians and alchemists for missing this unity, for failing to see the universal in the particular, and the particular in the universal. They insist that previous thinkers wandered in darkness because they could not understand that Christ, gold, and the philosopher's stone are three expressions of one divine transformative force. And so the text marches forward, relentlessly connecting the passion of Christ with the torment of metals in the crucible, the resurrection of Christ with the elevation of the stone, and the rebirth of the believer with the regeneration of nature. No separation, no dualism, just alchemy everywhere, in heaven, in earth, in the human heart. The book ends with a proclamation as bold as its beginning. Behold the rebirth of all things, in God, in the world, in humanity, and in creation. This small, obscure work, lost in dusty archives, printed only a handful of times, unknown to most students of alchemy, is the text that launched the great movement of spiritual alchemy that would shape Rosicrucianism, influence mystics, and eventually inspire Jung centuries later. A forgotten book that changed everything. Music slowly fades out. Thank you for watching. If you enjoy deep dives into alchemy, Hermeticism, and esoteric history, make sure to subscribe for more explorations into the hidden world where myth, philosophy, and magic converge.